비가 오니까 교회가 더 촉촉하니 예쁘네요. 좋으나 세베
Alright, I want to see the sour face, but you can sit down for now. We're going to go into lemon. So before we were stretching our mouth, now I want you to go, make them as small as you can for lemon. Ready? The fruit of the spirit is all lemon. Oh! The fruit of the spirit is all lemon. If you want to be a lemon, then you might as well hear it. Get me a fruit of the spirit, cause the fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, gentleness, self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. What have we not done? We haven't done dragon fruit.
No, that's the last one.
Is there another one we forgot?
Watermelon.
Oh, watermelon, right.
Relish.
What would you even do for relish?
Tomato.
That's hilarious.
Tomatoes are good. Relish.
Okay, dude.
That's not even a fruit.
I have already taken this from you once. Do not pick it up again. Watermelon. The fruit of the spirit is not a watermelon. It's so big. Fruit of the spirit is not a watermelon. If you want to be a watermelon, you might as well hear it. You can't be a fruit of the spirit because the fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Alright, get ready for dragon fruit. Dragon fruit roar. The fruit of the spirit is not a dragon fruit. Ah! The fruit of the spirit is not a dragon fruit. Ah! Want to be a dragon fruit, you might as well hear it. Can't be a fruit of the spirit because the fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Oh, we forgot strawberry.
Yeah,
No, strawberry.
we'll do it next week.
Raspberries are the best berries.
We'll do it next week.
No, let's do cherry. Okay, yeah, they are the
You guys come up with some good ones. I
Well,
like those.
all of ice cube.
Ice cube's not a fruit.
I have to bring you say it. Tomatoes are tomatoes.
Children, and they wanted children so that their name could be passed down to, so when they have grandchildren, their grandchildren's last name is the same name. So Sterling, your last name is Wilson. When you grow up and you get married and you have children, your children's last name will be Wilson, and then they grow up and they become parents, and then their last name is Wilson. Well, Abraham and Sarah didn't have any children for that to happen. No children to get married and have children, and children to have children, and children to have children, all the way down to you guys. We're all Abraham's children in a way, because we all came from him. But they were so old, and they just thought they could never have children. Well, one day God showed up, and he talked to Abraham and says, Abraham, you know what? You're going to have children. And Abraham just thought, that's so funny. There's no way I'm going to have children. And God said, you know what? Look up at the sky. Okay, see the sky here? Look at all the stars. There's tons of stars. And he goes, you're going to have so many descendants, so many relatives. You can't even count them, just like you can't count the stars. There's going to be so many. Do you think that Abraham believed God? Do you think he believed him? Do you think it was hard to believe him? Boys and girls, if I said to you, I have if I said to you, I have something in a bag behind my back that you can eat. And I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to put your hand in there, and I want you to take out what's in there and eat it. Would you do that without knowing what it is?
Yeah.
You would? How come? Why would you do it?
Because you do.
Because do you believe Teacher Irmgard? Do you believe I wouldn't give you something? What if you didn't really know me? What if I put dog food in a bag and I told you to put your hand in there? But you wouldn't know it's dog. But you know me, right? You know me, and you know Teacher Irmgard would never give you dog food, right? Do you know that? You would never, Teacher Irmgard would never give you dog food to eat. So I believe that Abraham knew God well enough to know that God was going to do what he said he was going to do. So do you guys all want to close your eyes and reach your hands in here and take out something that I have, and don't look, and you can have what's in here. And actually, maybe I should reach in and put it on my hand. Okay, hold on just a second. Close your eyes, everybody. And open your hands, put your hands out, and I'll put something in your hand, okay? Keep your eyes closed.
Close your eyes, Shirley. Put your hand
Keep
out.
your eyes
Kylie,
closed.
close your eyes. Put your hands out, Shirley. Put your hand out.
Don't open your eyes, don't open your eyes, just put it in your mouth, just put it in your mouth. Don't look, don't look, don't look. Don't look at it in your mouth. Don't look, just eat what it is. Did you trust me? Was that good? That's called trusting when we can't see, but we just believe the person that tells us something. That's trusting. And Abraham.
We have animal crackers too.
Do you have animal crackers? Yeah. And you know what? Abraham trusted in God. And he only had one son, but from that one son, all of us were born from there. Many, many, many generations. God kept his promise. He did what was impossible for Abraham and Sarah. There's no way in the world old people like that ever would have had children. They were never going to be able to have children unless God stepped in and did the big things that God is able to do. Isn't God a great God?
Amen.
I love God. Okay, let us say our memory verse again. And then we all get a sticker, okay?
Then we can go outside.
And then, if you guys
Amen.
want to, you can go back to the back and you can make a card or a note for somebody that you want to share. We did that last week too. We have pictures to color, but you can see the Lord.
The Lord,
And there is,
and there is
No God.
wow, there is no God besides me.
besides me.
Wow, you guys are awesome. You learned this. Oh, right
No
on.
other God.
No other God. There's none other. Okay, which one?
There
is
is
it? All right. They're getting filled with little.
Story time.
I'll set it there just in case, okay?
Okay, Miras. A couple of weeks ago, we were celebrating Christmas with a special occasion because it talks about a very special baby. So today we're gonna review a little bit about the story. But the children look to their way. So turn Victoria to this direction. Okay, so Joseph and Mary had to go to Bethlehem. But they didn't have a car or didn't have a train or airplane. So they had to go in a boat. And they traveled very a long distance, many miles. When they got to Bethlehem, they didn't have like a place to come down. And there was, carrying a baby in her inside of her. But someone, said, they had only a space, for them, where the place where the animals they stay, like cow, sheep, and this was the only place that they had to prepare to get this special baby. And that's special baby in Bethlehem. Also, and they still had a very special song with the angels telling them that their Savior was born. And yes, Jesus, baby Jesus, was born. Who's going to say, you, and me too. And the nature also was very happy. The animals, the cows, sheep, all the people that were talking, taking care of the sheep in the fields and the beautiful views of Bethlehem, they noticed a very special star in the sky. And they said, something is behind. And for their surprise, an angel came to give the good news that the baby Messiah was born in sometimes we get afraid, and we don't have to worry, because we have our angels, and God is with us too. And the shepherds were very happy to hear this special news. Shepherds, they followed him. And also they saw the baby Jesus. They worshiped him, and they were singing for him. And may we remember that Jesus loves us, and then that he wants to take us to our very, very special place in heaven. So we can remember that, okay? That Jesus loves us. Oh, okay. So,
It's the last
dear
time.
Jesus, thank you so much for your Sabbath, thanks for your rain, thanks for this special moment learning about you and also worshiping you. Be with us, with our families, and give us a good day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Bye, goodbye. Oh, bye, goodbye. Grace free and true. Yeah. Our service school is over and we are going now. Goodbye, goodbye. Be always kind and true. Goodbye, goodbye. Be always kind and true.
What's inside, okay? I'm going to give each one of you one of these. And parents, it's never too soon to start thinking about your education of your kids. So I'm Alfred Riddle from Mesa Grande Academy. I'm principal up there. And we want to just make sure that you Valentine's, there's a little invitation. It may not be applicable at this point of your age, but we have a kindergarten roundup. There you go. And coming up in a few weeks. Did you get one? We need one for her. Oh, we need one for you.
I need two, my grandkids.
Oh, absolutely.
Next week they're gonna
There you
come.
go. Oh, there we go. There. All right.
Ready to Lord the Almighty, the King of creation. Oh, my soul, praise Him, for He is thy health and salvation. All ye who hear, now to His temple draw near. Praise Him in great adoration. Ready to Lord who over all things reigneth. Shieldeth thee under His wings, yes, so His sustenance. Hast thou not seen how thy desires have been granted in holiness? Praise to the Lord who does prosper the the time.
All the time?
God is good.
Life can be hard sometimes, but God is always good.
Man.
If you're visiting with us, if you're looking for a church home, we would be honored for you to consider Cal Mesa your church home. Wouldn't we, church?
Yeah.
It's a great place to be. And we love God and love people. And God has been loving us. So we look forward to you. A couple announcements in your bulletin. I want to ask this going on.
Thrive
Anywhere
class.
gardening, capturing photography,
Thrive.
healthy living now, and scrapbooking. This is a great opportunity for us to meet and make friends with our community. We have a lot of people from our community coming out to these classes. So this is a great way to build relationships and let them know who we are as Seventh-day Adventist Christians. And so I want to invite, if you want to do a little suffering, if you haven't done enough suffering lately, I want to invite you to come out to CrossFit Life with me. Come on out and suffer a little bit, right? Suffering builds character, right? It's a good thing. So come on out. It's CrossFit Light. Now, some people say we need to do CrossFit Heavy. If you want to do CrossFit Heavy, we can arrange that as well. But come on out and enjoy a good hour of exercise and fitness and getting the heart rate up a little bit and getting a little bit more mobility. I think Pastor Aaron's going to talk about these just before his sermon today, so we'll hear a little bit more about that. Also, I think we might have do we have an announcement for our women's retreat for second service? Yes, we do. All right.
So, my friends of Jesus is our email. I have been part of this planning process for the first time, just kind of getting a glimpse of everything that goes behind our women's retreat. And let me tell you, this year we have this word who has spoken into our hearts. But what I loved about our retreat last year is that this is a place where you can go and just be nurtured, like be high, and let your hair down. We can all go bananas, and it's going to be fantastic. So I invite you to register, to sign up, and just take a break from your kids, your husband, whatever, and
Whatever.
Really? It's all right, man. The ladies are away. You're around this moment. We will not be streaming live. Take notice. I invite you this time to stand and welcome those around you. Give them a good welcome here on the Sabbath.
Happy service. That's good. Happy service. Happy service. Yeah, here. I already prepared. Happy service. Happy service. Yes.
Dogs are very special, aren't they? They're our friends. How many of you have a guardian angel? Some, she says everyone should raise their hand. If everyone has a guardian angel, how many angels are here in church? Can you count all the angels? Can you see the angels? Are they real even though you can't see them? Very real. I'm going to tell you a story that happened long ago and far away in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is where the snowbanks get very high and people stay in where it's warm. But then it gets to be March and April, and in May it starts getting warm and nice in New Hampshire. And people like to go out and think about gardening. But the story that I'm going to tell you about is not about a garden. It's about a grandpa and a grandma and a mommy and a daddy and a little baby about a year and a half old. Do any of you have baby brothers or sisters that are a year and a half old? Ooh, over here. And they're very small and they sleep a lot, don't they? They have naps, go to bed early. The story I'm going to tell you about is about not only the family, but there was a dog. And if you look at the screen, you'll be seeing a picture of a dog. A dog that looks something like that. And I don't remember because I was kind of young at the time. But his name was Shep. And he loved the baby, and he loved the family, and he loved to be with the family. One day in May, when the daddy had to go to work, because daddies go to work to get money, right? Does your daddy go to work every day? And the grandma had to go to work because they wanted to have enough food for everybody. And there wouldn't be enough food unless she went to work. And so the grandpa and the mommy and the baby were home all by themselves. And sometimes when you have lunch, like when you have lunch today, sometimes does grandpa or grandma have a nap? Well, this grandpa got sleepier and sleepier, and he fell asleep. And you know, babies have naps. And sometimes mommies have naps too, when babies sleep, and mommy's all tired out. So everyone went to sleep, even Shep went to sleep. They were all sleeping. This was in the afternoon, and it was sunny, and it was a beautiful May day. And they're all sound asleep. But the angels weren't sleeping. Do you think angels sleep? No, angels are awake all the time at night. And when we're sleeping, our angels are wide awake. So the angels, how many angels were there? There was a grandpa, mommy, baby. Do you think a dog had an angel? I don't know. Dogs have angels or not? But there were at least 3 angels. And the angels noticed something that nobody else noticed. Look at the screen and you will see a dog and an angel. An angel is about ready to talk to the dog. Do you think dogs can hear when angels talk to them? You know, years and years and years, more years ago, there was an ark. And Noah called all the people and said, there's going to be a big flood, you've got to get in the ark. And nobody came. Nobody but his family. But when the angels went out and they talked to the giraffe, they talked to the hippopotamus, they talked to the lion, and they said, quick, quick, get into the ark. You know what all those animals did? They came running out of the woods, down the mountains, and they all got into the ark. And so animals sometimes hear when people don't. So the angels noticed something. They saw that there was a fire starting. And the fire was starting in the house. And so the angels said to Grandpa, wake up, fire! But Grandpa just snored louder. And they said to the mommy, quick, get your baby, get out of the house. But the mommy was so tired from taking care of the baby, she didn't wake up. And the baby just slept a baby nap. But the dog smelled the smoke. As soon as the angel said, Shep, wake up, fire, Shep heard. But he couldn't talk. So how was he going to tell me? He couldn't just run out of the house by himself. He loved the baby, he loved the grandpa, he loved the mommy. And this was dangerous. So what does a dog do when there's danger? They bark. And he barked and barked. And Grandpa said, be quiet. And he barked and barked some more. And Grandpa just, he was so tired. And Shep got really, wow, I got to get these people out. What am I going to do? And so then he started using his paws. That would wake you up, wouldn't it? So Grandpa woke up and he looked around, and then he was wide awake, and he could hear fire crackling. He could smell smoke. Oh, there's a baby. Oh, so Grandpa got his grandpa shoes on, and Grandpas can't walk too fast, but he started walking to another part of the house where the baby was in the crib, and the mommy was sound asleep nearby. He said, fire, fire, we gotta go, we gotta get out, quick. And the mommy woke up, huh? Fire? Huh? And she woke up. And Grandpa said, hurry, you gotta go now, you can't get anything. So she couldn't get any clothes, she couldn't get any pictures, she couldn't even get any food. But on the way, there was a pair of new Sabbath shoes for the daddy. And Sabbath shoes cost a lot of money. You can't get Sabbath shoes very often. So she grabbed the baby in one hand, the Sabbath shoes in the other, and out the door they ran. And the fire by now was getting bigger and bigger. The whole house was on fire. And back then, there were no cell phones. And even if there was a cell phone, the fire station was way in town, and this was way out of town, and there were no fire hydrants. There was a river, but it was a long ways away. So all they could do is hug each other and watch the fire. And the fire just flared up, and nobody could stop it. And the whole house burned down. And there was only ashes. But they were so grateful. They were so grateful that the angel and the doggy woke them up. And Grandpa hugged the doggy, and the mommy hugged the little baby. And the baby just didn't know what was happening hardly, except everyone was outdoors. And it wasn't too cold because it was May and everyone was out there. And they didn't have time to get jackets or sweaters or anything, but they were all there and they were all safe. And when Grandma and Daddy got home, they were so happy. Do you know when you're going to get to see your angel? You can listen for your angel when? Yes. And you're going to see a picture of many, 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 many angels. And I don't know which one is your angel, but it's going to be just hundreds and thousands and millions and trillions and squillions of angels. And there's going to be one angel that's going to come and pick you up, and you're going to meet your angel when Jesus comes. And that may not be too long. And I am so grateful. I am so grateful to my guardian angel because the baby was me. And if the angel hadn't woken up the dog and the dog hadn't woken up the family, I wouldn't be here today. So I just want to thank my angel. And every day I like to say, Jesus, thank you for the angels. Thank you for sending angels. And please say thank you to my angel.
Amen.
You may want to say thank you to your angels too. You may all take your seats.
Amen. Amen.
If you'd like to give to please put it on an offering type envelope. Just a little note to the Lord as we give today. We know that you don't need our money, but you ask us because it does something in our hearts and in our lives and our character. And so thank you for how you always have provided and will provide. And thank you for what you're doing and will do for our Spanish church here in the community and the great work you're doing in them sharing the gospel here in this area. So we put it all in your hands, we surrender it all to you, and ask you to bless it in Jesus' name.
Amen. Mighty God, there is none like you. I worship you, Prince of Peace. That is what I want to do. I give you praise. God, there is none like you. Worship you, oh Prince of Peace. That is what I want to do. Give you praise. You are my righteousness. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you.
I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning
Amen.
and the end, says the Lord, who is and was and is to come,
Amen.
the Almighty.
Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty.
Great and marvelous are your deeds, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are your ways, King of the nations.
Amen. Father in heaven, how we love you. Father in heaven, how we love you. We lift your name in all the earth. established in our praise. As your people declare your mighty words, blessed be the Lord God Almighty, who was in is and is to come. Blessed be the Lord God Almighty, who reigns forevermore. Father of mercy, be exalted. May Jesus' name be lifted high. For the sacrifice of love has won my pardon, and His resurrection power gives me life. Blessed be the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Blessed be the Lord God Almighty, who reigns forevermore. Blessed be the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Blessed be the Lord God Almighty, who reigns forevermore. Amen.
Song, 2 verses. And so I would invite, after we sing the first verse, if you would like to come forward for our garden of prayer with any special praises or special needs that you would like to join with others, you are welcome to do that. And John will be offering our
Jesus, name above all names, beautiful Savior, glorious Lord, Emmanuel, God is with us. Blessed Redeemer, living one, praise Thee, Lord of all, King of all kings, God's only Son, the Prince of Peace, who by His Spirit comes to live in us. Almighty God.
Father in heaven, we praise you this Sabbath morning that you are a God who makes wonderful promises. We praise you that you promise life, peace, and joy, and promise a world
needs of those around us, those who should pray, and to whom we can show your love as we interact today and through the coming week. We think of those who are affected in the memorial service here this afternoon, the service for Audra Tucker, and especially for her loved ones in our own congregation, Terry and Chuck Haney. We ask that they will feel your comforting presence in their loss and in the other challenges they face at this time. We think of Alice Stevens in intensive care, the brother of Minnie Davidian in our congregation. We think also of the individuals brought to our church by the members of the quilting ministry. Louise Royale and Annalise Schmidt, for whom prayer quilts are in the line. We ask you to place your blessing on those within the Thrive classes beginning in our church this week, and on the new high school Girls Bible group, more precious than rubies. Father, we pray that you will be with our plans for the Calamasa Women's Retreat in March, and our church-wide Pine Springs weekend in April. And we pray that you will make these events instruments for renewing your place in the hearts of many of your children. Father, we praise you that you are faithful in all your promises. We praise you that you have the power to ensure that not a word of your promises ever falls to the ground. We praise you that even when men seek to obstruct your plans, you bring them to fulfillment. We praise you that we can have complete confidence in all your promises, including the promise that one day we will see you face to face.
Amen.
We bring our hearts before you, Lord, tainted by the evil and selfishness of the world, but in the name of Jesus Christ, and by his blood shed for our sake, we ask that you will hear our prayer.
Amen.
Have mercy upon us, imperfect though we may be. Forgive us, cleanse us, and change us,
Amen.
just as you have promised.
Amen.
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 Keep on walking, oh you weary soldier. Few more miles until you make it home. Don't give up until the fight is over. Promise that you'll never walk alone. And when you wander through the bleeding silence, see an army coming for your soul. I'll stand between, I'll be your shield and guidance, 'cause my love for you is so deep and wide, deep and wide. Oh, my love for you, it's so deep and wide. I will lead you till you find the garden. In your darkest moment, help you see. Oh, that in death you will become the living. All forsaken, you will be made have to write the final chapter. All imagination still can't see, or just how deep and wide, deep and wide. All my love for you, it's so deep and wide. Deep and wide, deep and wide. All my love for you, it's so deep and God so loved the world, His only He sent, and He died. Deep and wide, Jesus' love is so deep and wide. Even death it couldn't hold Him beneath. Yes, even death it couldn't hold Him beneath. Oh, even death it couldn't hold Him beneath. He's alive.
Man.
Consider him a very good friend. It's a rare thing when you meet somebody so talented and yet so genuine and humble at the same time. And so it goes without saying that it's especially rare to meet two such people. You spend a day with Tad and you learn to be humble for all the right reasons. And we really appreciate you coming here today, Tad, being with us. I feel like you're part of the And if Tad doesn't mind, I'm going to share that, about 7 years ago, as he shared during his testimony in August, God has led Tad on quite the journey, a change of direction in the music industry. And after 7 years of work, he has completed his album. I think 2 days ago he finished it, and is going to be doing an album release concert show, party event, and it's just celebrating what God is doing in his life and how he can then do things in other people's lives. And we love you, Tad, and we're excited for you. One quick note that I was informed of that I want to make sure you know, in your bulletin there's an announcement about a concert that's happening this afternoon that some of our Academy students are participating in. It's a, I don't know if you call it Choir Fest or something that several students have been working towards. It's at La Sierra. And we found out, I believe it says 4 o'clock in your bulletin, and if you want to go hear that, it's at 3 o'clock. We want to make sure you're aware so you don't show up an hour late. That would not be a good thing. So if you're going to support the kids at La Sierra this afternoon, 3 o'clock. Also, as has been mentioned, we are very excited because this week we are launching Thrive. And Thrive is a really wonderful event that we do here around this time every year, where we offer these classes to the church family as well as our surrounding community, and a good amount of great chance to build relationships with those who live in the Kalamazoo Yucaipa area and beyond. And while we mentioned the names of the classes, I just want to give a little bit more information on each of them in the hopes that all of you will consider participating in one this year. Traditionally, our most popular class is called Anywhere Gardening, which is a fast-paced, interactive, and most of all, practical class about how anyone, anywhere, can enjoy growing delicious and nutritious food regardless of space or limitations. Monty Andrus teaches it, and he does a tremendous job teaching that class. I enjoy watching him, even though I don't understand most of the things he's talking about. It's a delight to see. And for that, we always get a good amount of community people to come, and so we love that class. We have one this year also called Capturing Photography. We are living in a more visual age than ever, as you know, with more photographers in new ways than ever. And this new class will help newer photographers learn the basics for taking better looking photographs. It will be taught by our own Dr. Daryl Peterson, and he's going to cover things like camera settings, composition of a good photo, and the digital darkroom, which I'm assuming is editing, I don't know for certain. A camera with manual settings is recommended, but not required, although if you do want a camera for the class and don't have one, contact the church office and we'll see if we can help you out there. Pastor John will once again be leading those interested in getting their heart rates up and their cholesterol down for an hour a week at CrossFit Light. I think that's how cholesterol works. He does a great job of making this class suitable for all levels and abilities. Last year, when we surveyed asking for ideas for new Thrive classes for 2019, one of the most common responses we got was CrossFit Heavy. And I think Pastor John can arrange for that if you want in this class, but it's for all levels and abilities. And this year it's going to be at a new location, CrossFit Covert, which is also very close by, down the street, around the corner. We have the address for you. And like before, it starts 1 hour later than the other classes. That one begins at 7:30. It is limited to about 13 people though, so register as soon as possible. Speaking of being in a visual age, we are always looking for ways to remember that recent trip we took or that special event that we attended. And Nancy Hall will be leading a new class this year on scrapbooking, a very practical and fun skill to have. The class will teach the best ways to preserve special moments, family photos, and memorabilia in both crafting and digital scrapbooks. And finally, we're really excited this year to be offering a class focused specifically on your health, and it's called Healthy Living Now. And for this one, we've contacted a team of professors from the Loma Linda University School of Public Health to come and share from their wealth of knowledge on how each of us can best care for our bodies. These are people with quite a lot of expertise and experience, and all of them will be, they've expressed an excitement to come here to Calamasa. And what I really am interested in is that they've shared with me what they'll be teaching on, and it sounds to me like many of these lessons will not be things that we've necessarily heard all that much about, and that could go for those in the community as well. I want to share with you a few of their class topics that they've shared with me. One is called Phytochemicals, Protecting Our Health. Secrets of Health in Blue Zones. Gut Health. And what health messages can we trust when phony goes mainstream? Those are just a few of the ones that we've presented over the 6 weeks. In addition to those, we have our own Dr. Dan Jong teaming up with Dr. Wayne Dysinger for one evening focused on sleep. And a young man who grew up in this church, Dr. Brent Wild, will be coming in to share some of his expertise as a physical therapist on exercise and movement. Now, this will be a great class to invite friends to and serve as a checkup on our own health and well-being. And so I truly hope you consider registering. Thrive will meet, like I said, for 6 Wednesdays. It begins this coming Wednesday. It goes through March 20. Cost is $15 to just help us cover our basic expenses. And that includes dinner, which we provide every single night as well. Janelle Beats is leading that team this year, which we're grateful for, because we think it's important to not only learn together, but to sit down and have a meal together. Maybe even make a new friend. So the dinner begins at 5:30. The class is at 6:30 besides CrossFit, which starts at 7:30, all of them lasting 1 hour. To register, you go to the church website. If you forget, all good. Just show up at the fireside room on Wednesday night, and we will take care of you. We hope to see all of you here on Wednesday. And we've begun a new series this month called The Names of God. And we know that names hold deep significance in our modern culture, but perhaps held even greater meaning in the ancient world. Names meant so much that often a life shift or specific quality would have to be accompanied by a name change. We think of Pharaoh changing Joseph's name to the Egyptian Zaphanath-Paneah, or Daniel receiving his Babylonian name, Belteshazzar. Jesus, of course, changed Simon's name to Cephas, Aramaic for rock. In Greek, the Petros. So for us, we say Peter. And in Acts, the disciples changed the name of Joseph, a Levite from Cyprus, to Barnabas, meaning son of encouragement. Not a bad reputation to have. God is recorded giving name changes as well, the first of which we read about in Genesis 17. Now at this point, we have already met a man named Abram back when he was 75 years old. He's from the land of Ur. Poorly named, but kind of like the modern New York City. His father, though, decides to move the family from Ur to the boonies of Canaan, which probably felt more like Des Moines. And they only make it halfway until later when God calls Abram to finish the journey to Canaan along with his wife Sarai, who was barren. And God has promised that he will bless Abram and Sarai with children as numerous as the stars in the sky. And yet when we arrive at chapter 17, Abram is now 99 years old and his wife is still barren. And here God speaks. When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Serve me faithfully and live a blameless life. I will make a covenant with you, by which I will guarantee to give you countless descendants. At this, Abram fell face down on the ground. Then God said to him, this is my covenant with you. I will make you the father of a multitude of nations. What's more, I am changing your name. It will no longer be Abram. Instead, you will be called Abraham, for you will be the father of many nations. Abram is reminded of God's promise and given a new name. Abraham, which means the father of many. But he isn't alone. God also gives Sarai a new name, Sarah. And God does all this under the establishment of a new name as well, El Shaddai, God Almighty. The patriarchs would know well God as El, Elohim, and Yahweh, but now God chooses that, El Shaddai, God Almighty. It is a statement of power. A couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of speaking for a week of prayer at my alma mater, Pacific Union College. And it's always so fun to revisit a campus you once attended, especially when you get to go and visit your old dormitory. And I got to do just that and visit the hallowed halls of Granger Hall. And Granger has a certain reputation of being the Adventist version of a fraternity. Any gentlemen here live in Granger Hall during a certain period? Okay, now you know who to be wary of in the church. You know how we have the Adventist version of things? We have the Adventist version of playing cards. We have the Adventist version of meat. There's this satirical news site called The Onion. We have two Adventist versions of it. One is called The Haystack, and the more popular one is called Barely Adventist. And I want to encourage you, if you are bored one day and you have a sense of humor, to go onto that site and peruse it a little bit. I was looking at some of its recent headlines. One of them was that Netflix was going to introduce a new Sabbath filter. And the other was that the church was going to be releasing a ranking of all potluck dishes. And Granger Hall was the Adventist version of a fraternity, and we had our own set of traditions. We had dorm initiation, which I'm not at liberty to speak about. We had our own version of Christmas caroling, which I'm not at liberty to speak about. And we had our unique way of saying happy birthday to one of our brothers, which was by lovingly apprehending them and tossing them into the freezing cold fountain. I remember one day seeing one of my friends, and I knew it was his birthday. I said, "Happy birthday, man!" He was like, "Shh!" And then that night, he stood in his room as the clock was about to strike midnight, his body completely greased up in Crisco. He said, "I may go down, but I'm not going down without a fight." But we got him. We got him. But perhaps one of my favorite traditions of all of them was the annual dodgeball tournament. I chose not to play in it for the first 2 years because I knew that dodgeball had this ability to turn normally mild-mannered men into barbarians. They would treat it like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and frankly, I wanted no part of it, and so I'm just going to watch. Until one year, a friend asked me several times because he needed an extra person on his team, and finally I capitulated and I said, "Okay, I will play, but you know, it's a kid's game. And so I'm just there to have fun. I'm going to treat it like a kid's game." He's like, "Yeah, of course, it's all in fun." I'm like, okay, good. So the night of the tournament comes, and it's in the gym, there's all these teams, and you know, we're playing, and you know, we win a couple games. And it starts to go well, and there's just a few teams left, and a few teams left, and even less. And well, I was starting to get into it. And I'm rolling around, and I'm throwing two at once, and around the back, you know, and we win. I start to celebrate, and my buddy's like, "Aaron, you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. We need to win this. This is Game 7 of the NBA Finals right now. Do you have any face paint?" And eventually, we made it to the championship. And what would happen is, as a team got eliminated, they would move off to the side, and so the gym was surrounded by thousands watching us play dodgeball. And at one point in the championship game, they only had one person left. And a ball rolled to my feet. And I picked it up. And then I looked at him. And he looked back at me, as if to say, "Please, I have a family." And in my head I thought, "Not for long, you don't." And as I held that dodgeball, I felt something. I felt ultimate power. And it felt good. So you know what I did in that moment? With the crowd watching, one throw away from victory, I took that dodgeball. And what do you think? I threw that thing as hard as I could, and it hit him like a sonic boom. And I raised my fist to the sky, and I was surrounded by my teammates, and we celebrated. We had won a meaningless college dodgeball tournament. Felt good for about 30 minutes, and then I was a bit embarrassed. And you know what? I still see that guy around. He lives in Loma Linda. And I swear, whenever I run into him, he still has the same look on his face. He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't know. Something came over me. It was the power." Have you ever felt power over somebody? We usually associate power with words like authority and clout. We use words like powerhouse, power trip, and power struggle. Sometimes we like to think of God's power as sort of a "my dad can beat up your dad" kind of power. Where God is our dodgeball. But in Genesis, God proclaims power over Abram, and does this by establishing a relational covenant with him. The ball is put into Abram's court. God then restores him with a new name and promises to work through him. It's as if El Shaddai, God Almighty, renames power itself. From suppression to restoration. From domination to delegation. From empire to empower. And Abraham is not our only example of this. Last week, John spoke of Moses, a man who resisted leadership initially, but rescued millions, not because of his power, but because as God would remind him constantly, he would never be working alone. Daniel was empowered as a slave to help and heal in Babylon, not starting from a place of authority, but from a place of subjugation. And Jesus, well, he really messes things up for us, doesn't he? We could share hours of examples, but I'm reminded of Jesus early in his ministry being at his home church one day, and he's handed the scroll of the prophet Isaiah, and he unrolls it to what we would call chapter 61. He clears his throat and begins to read. He reads, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Then, this is my favorite part, he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. That is known as an ancient mic drop. The eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him. And then he begins by saying to them, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." Jesus begins with, frankly, a proclamation of power, of the Spirit, of anointing, and then redefines power for us. And do you know how the story ends? With his hometown community trying to get him and throw him over a cliff. Fast forward to the end of his ministry, and Jesus is responding to his disciples' request for a prominent seating position in heaven. Think power. And he says these words, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." And yet, for some, it is another set of words from Jesus that may resonate more. While hanging upon the cross, we mysteriously hear our Jesus shout out, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani." My God, why have you forsaken me? Perhaps life has brought you moments when, if you are honest, you did not feel the Almighty God's power. But instead, you only felt El Shaddai's absence. This week, a friend of mine, who is my age, suddenly collapsed in his home as his dad waited for him outside in the car. And his memorial service is tomorrow. The Almighty God didn't prevent that unknown affliction from taking the life of a kind-hearted young man. And so where was God's power then? In the book of Ruth, a woman named Naomi loses her husband and both her sons. And in her brokenness, she declares her own name change from Naomi, meaning pleasant, to Mara, meaning bitter. "Don't call me Naomi," she told them. "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me." Have you ever been in the same place as Mara? Perhaps we are still learning what God's power looks like. We should never feel that it's wrong for us to wrestle with that. In Genesis 32, Abraham's grandson Jacob was also the recipient of a new name given by God as a blessing. He went from being Jacob, the deceiver, to being blessed with a new name, Israel, one who wrestles with God. Maybe our wrestling is not an affront to God, but actually worthy of a blessing. Church, we should not be afraid of it. Life has some really hard and dark moments, and we can acknowledge that. At the same time, if we follow Naomi's story, we know her widowed daughter-in-law, Ruth, marries a man named Boaz, and from their line comes the Messiah, who followed his cry on the cross by breathing his last and dying. And so for many, God's demonstration of what true power looks like is best understood when we see God captured, convicted, and crucified. And what may not seem very powerful at all has empowered humans across the world to go and serve and to heal and to find forgiveness for themselves and to offer forgiveness for others. And so while we find the journey of God can often be about knowing God's power and not knowing of God's power, of receiving God's power and of searching for God's power. Maybe what we can hold on to most is the deepest belief that God is love. Therefore, power cannot be anything else but. Perhaps that is the power of El Shaddai. So how about your power? You have power, you know. Power over yourself and power over others. People whom you have position or privilege or principle over. When I think of who I have power over, some of the people that come to mind are students that I've taught, or kids that I've coached, or our youth group, barely. I think about the waiter, whose performance I will judge with a tip. I think of the vendor who relies upon my regular compensation I give to meet their basic needs. I think of people I encounter whom I've been given a higher social status than. I think about people whose lives will be directly impacted by how I cast my vote. And I think of my loved ones because truly, anybody who has chosen to love you is placing you in a position of power over them. Because to love somebody is to make yourself vulnerable to them. And typically, how we use our power is based upon how we've been treated when we were on the other side. I can think of several moments in my life when I have felt particularly vulnerable. I started by sharing the story of when I was a college dodgeball player, but let me tell you, it wasn't always such confidence. I remember showing up to campus as a